In fact, the reality is that we have an epidemic of unhappiness. I'm not sure if you know Halle Berry, but she's got a killer body. And that's why I can say, I know this works. I know it from my own life. Are you showing up in life as a victim in life? And victims have three main qualities. They blame, they shame, which means shaming themselves, or they complain. Blame, shame, and complain.
Hello, Marci.
Hi, how are you?
Good to see you. I'm okay.
Great to be with you again, yeah.
Thank you very much. Marci, so I have a list of questions which I'd like you on behalf of my viewers to ask you. And the first one, which I think on everybody's mind, happiness for no reason. Does it mean that I have to be happy, that people have to be happy all the time and show it, like you do in California?
I love that question because people do misunderstand what I mean by happy for no reason. It doesn't mean that you're walking around with a smile on your face all the time, 24/7, and being in some state of denial. Reality is right now, of course, times are very challenging. And what I mean by happy for no reason, let me give you the definition. It means an inner state of peace and well-being that doesn't depend on your circumstances. So what that means is that even though there is stuff going on, you still have an inner state of peace and well-being. Now, that doesn't mean you're, always happy. Of course, you're going to be challenged by these times. You're going to be, perhaps you're feeling grief. I mean, if somebody dies, of course, you're going to feel grief. But you've got this backdrop of peace and well-being that you carry with you wherever you go. And that is clearly so important these days because most people live in what I call the myth of happiness. And it's, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy when everything lines up for me. I'll be happy when I get a better job. I'll be happy when I make more money. I'll be happy when I get married. I'll be happy when I get divorced. And, it's always about something about to happen or something outside of us. And that never really works because it's a very shaky foundation for happiness. Because the minute that goes away, where's your happiness? So real and lasting happiness is based in this inner state of peace and well-being that we talk about, happy for no reason. As long as you are depending on your circumstances to make you happy, then you'll never have this state of lasting happiness.
Right, because very often I think people confuse happiness with the with the look being happy. When people try to put this impression on their face for the sake of others. And in fact, I spent some time in California as well. And I was a little bit amazed that everybody smiles. How are you? You have nice shoes. And everybody seems to be happy. And I thought, well, then something wrong with me because I'm not that often, at least in those days, I was more frustrated. I was career oriented. But what do you think about that?
Yeah. That's not genuine happiness. I mean, if that were, you wouldn't have so many. I've often said that if money and fame and beauty were the ingredients to happiness, we would not have, Hollywood would be very happy, and they're not. In fact, the reality is that we have an epidemic of unhappiness. Mm-hmm. 1 out of 4 women is on antidepressants. We have more than we've ever had. And yet we're unhappier than ever. Now that's the bad news. There is good news about happiness. And the good news is that science has actually cracked the happiness code. We know what it takes for people to be happier. To me, that should be headline news. Happiness is the thing that people have wanted for time immemorial. And we know how to get it. So can I just share with you a little bit of the science of happiness? Because I think for me, it was very eye-opening. The science of happiness has shown that we all have what's called a happiness set point. And it's like a thermostat setting. No matter what happens to us, whether it's good or bad, we will tend to hover around that thermostat setting. And I'll give you an example of this. People who win the lottery, you think, oh, all I'd have to do is win the lottery and I'd be so happy. Well, you would be for a short period of time. But what they found is that within about a year, you will come back to your original happiness set point. This is also true of people who have tragedies. Within about a year, you come back to your happiness set point. So no matter how much great thing you create in your life, it's not going to change your happiness set point. You've got to consciously change it. And here's how the set point is determined. It's 50% your genetics, your DNA, you're born with it. It's only 10% your circumstances in life. Now notice that's what everybody's so busy trying to do something about, change my circumstances. It's only 10%. It's 40% your habits. That's where we have a lot of ability to change. Now I'm going to take this a step further and say that scientists in the field of epigenetics, like Dr. Bruce Lipton, who wrote The Biology of Belief,
Yes.
they say that even that genetic piece, that 50% that's genetic, that can be changed or influenced by changing your habits. That means that 90% of our happiness set point can be changed by changing our habits. That's fantastic. And Gennady, if I could just tell a little bit of a story of my own about this, because, people always think that, you're an expert in happiness. They always think you must have been, you must have always been happy. And the reality is that I was born depressed. I was always unhappy as a kid. I had great family. Everything was great. But I felt this like dark cloud of unhappiness around me. And I did what most people do in my 20s. I figured out, okay, I'm going to create a great life for myself and then I'll be happy. And I set 5 goals for myself. And I'm just going to share with you these 5 goals because I think a lot of people can actually relate to this. And my 5 goals were I wanted to have a successful career helping people. I wanted to have a great husband or life partner. I wanted wonderful friends, a comfortable home. And the 5th thing I wanted was the equivalent of Halle Berry's body. I'm not sure if you know Halle Berry, but she's got a killer body. And I got 4 out of the 5. I didn't have Halle Berry's body.
Oh, I thought
I got the other 4, and I'm very healthy, so I'm grateful for that, for my healthy body. And I had a turning point moment. It was in 1998. I had 3 books in the top 5 at the same time on the New York Times bestseller list. It was one of the first times people had ever done that. I had all of those other things working for me in my career. I had just finished giving a speech to 8,000 people. I had autographed 5,432 books. I felt like an author rock star. And I went up to my hotel room to just, take it all in like I should have been super happy. And I walked over to these beautiful windows overlooking this panoramic view. And I turned around and I collapsed on my bed into tears because I realized that I had accomplished everything I thought I needed to be happy in life, and I still wasn't. I still felt that emptiness inside. And that's when I decided I was going to do everything I could to figure out how to be happy. And I did all of the research on happiness, and I interviewed people who were happy for no reason, unconditionally happy. And I started doing what they did, and it worked. And then I started teaching it to people, and it worked. And that's why I can say, I know this works. I know it from my own life. And it's not about, here's the thing, it's not about, of course you can have great things in life. I'm all about having what I call 200% of life, 100% of this inner state of happiness, and then 100% of the outer world that reflects the inner happiness. The problem is we go for the outer stuff and we haven't filled in the inner stuff first. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. I'm trying to relate it to myself because I'm getting happier and happier. And I think it's maybe, I know that by statistics, the older you are, the happier you are. And before I thought it's kind of strange why 65 or 75 should feel more happier than 25 or 35 or 45. But I think probably people can appreciate life more, can really appreciate small things. I think during the coronavirus, people really revalued a lot of things. What money means. If you're
Yeah. The research shows that no amount of money, once you're past the poverty line, no amount of money will make you happier. So yes, there is a certain level, as long as your basic needs are being met, then in fact, the billionaires of the world are no happier than anybody else statistically. And the thing about age is so interesting, because what happens is, as we get older, either we start learning, I better find this happiness inside, or we go the other direction and people become more unhappy. So the good news is you've gone in the right direction too. But the thing is, no matter what our age is and no matter what our circumstances are, today we can start raising our happiness set point. Tomorrow, there are certain specific habits that you can use to raise your happiness set point. And maybe we could go into some of those habits. I love getting really practical.
Please, can you give us at least some of them? So
yes. So first of all, let me tell you that I found that there are 21 main happiness habits that anyone can practice to get happier. That's a lot, but you don't have to practice all of them. They fall into 7 main categories, and we all are weaker in one of those 7 main categories. And that's where I tell people to start. So what I want to do is go through those 7 categories with all of us right now. And everybody who's listening, please pay attention to, where are you the weakest? So I know it's hard to remember 7 of anything. So I created an analogy or a metaphor for this. I call it building your inner home for happiness. Now, every home has 7 main components. It's got a foundation. It's got 4 corner pillars. It's got a roof, and it's got a garden. And here's how this relates to your 7 areas of happiness. The foundation means taking responsibility for your life and for your happiness. Are you showing up in life as a victim in life? And victims have 3 main qualities. They blame, they shame, which means shaming themselves, or they complain. Blame, shame, and complain. Do you do a lot of that? Or do you show up in life as a victor in life? Meaning, no matter what my circumstances, I'm going to take responsibility for my life. So that's the foundation. And again, I want you, as I go through these, to notice, where are you the weakest? And Gennady, you're going to be my guinea pig. So I'm going to ask you, where are you the weakest? Then there's the 4 corner pillars. The pillar of the mind, the heart, the body, and the spirit. The mind is our thoughts. Do your thoughts sabotage your happiness? And we'll talk more about that a little bit, and I'll give you some tools to work with that. The heart. Do you live with an open heart or a closed heart? Happy people are open-hearted. That means they have kindness, generosity, love, gratitude, forgiveness. The body. Do you have the biochemistry of happiness? Do you have enough of the right chemicals, the serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins? The soul. Do you feel connected to the greater energy of life? I don't care what you call it, but do you feel that you are part of a loving, benevolent universe, and you feel that support of the universe? Then there's the roof, and the roof has to do with your purpose in life. Are you living an inspired life? Are you living what you are here on this planet to be doing? And then finally, there's the garden. And the garden has to do with the people that we surround ourselves with. Do you have a lot of weeds or toxic people in your garden? Or are you surrounded with people who support your happiness? So those are the 7 main areas. And I want everybody right now to identify, where are you the weakest? Because that, for me, wherever you're the weakest, that's where I want you to start, because that's where you're going to get the most benefit from changing habits. So Gennady, where do you think for you, are you the weakest in this?
Well, weakest, I think my thoughts. I'm too rational, and very often, I predict. Well, I mean, it's like an economist. If you let's imagine that there is a $1 bill on the floor. As an economist, I would say no, it cannot be, because somebody would pick it up. So very often I kind of rationally think that, well, it will not go right because there are so factors, etc. So I have these limiting beliefs about a lot of things. I'm working on that, but I still admit that there is my brain, which is not bad, but it's my enemy. Yes. My conscious is the enemy, is a blockage on my subconscious. That's what I feel. And
Yes,
sometimes when I meditate, I feel, wow, but that's only, 20 minutes a day. Not.
right. So the mind is a beautiful thing as long as it's not in charge. It's there to serve our heart and soul. It's not there to be the leader, it's there to be the servant. But most of us have our brains, our minds as the leader. And you described something called the negativity bias, where your thoughts hijack your life. And it's very common. The average person has 60,000 thoughts a day, and for the average person, 80% of those thoughts are negative. We developed this negativity bias from our ancestors, the cavemen, who needed to remember the negative in order to survive. We no longer need that the way that we currently have it, but we still operate that way. A friend of mine, Rick Hansen, calls it the Velcro Teflon syndrome. And here's what I mean, what he means by that. Our minds are like Velcro for the negative. The negatives just stick to us, but they're like Teflon for the positives. The positives slide off of us. And I'll give you an example. So Gennady, if you get 10 compliments in a day and 1 criticism, what do you remember at the end of the day?
You know the answer.
That criticism, right?
Of course, yeah.
Happy people have reversed that Velcro Teflon syndrome. They remember the negatives, the positives, and they let the negatives slide off of them. Mm-hmm. So that's what we need to do. We need to reverse the Velcro Teflon syndrome. And I'm going to give you 3 steps to do it. These 3 steps are the scientifically proven steps to create new neural pathways in the brain for the positive. And the first step is to actually be on the lookout for the positive. We get 1 billion bits of information every second, and we only perceive what it is we're on the lookout for. So if you're seeing a lot of negatives, it's because that's what your brain is habituated to look for. But I promise there's a lot of positives out there too. So what you want to do is you want to be like a detective. You want to be on the lookout for the positive. One of the women that I interviewed for Happy for No Reason said she pretends that she's the Academy Awards committee. And her job every day is to give out 5 Academy Awards. So she's on the lookout. She'll be walking down the street and she'll see a cute little fluffy white dog and she'll go, oh, that dog gets the cutest dog of the day award. Mm-hmm. Now, by the way, if you have children, practice this with your children. You want to get your children in the habit of doing this early on. So just make it a game. What 5 Academy Awards are you going to give away today? So that's the first thing, to be on the lookout for the positive. The second thing is to savor the positive. Savor it, meaning really take it in. Let it settle in your body. Let it marinate. And what that means is that we actually need to have it coming in, thinking about it, feeling it for at least 20 seconds. So you've got to savor it for 20 seconds. That's how long it takes for the good to start creating new neural pathways. The bad doesn't take anywhere near as long. So if you see a beautiful sunset, instead of saying, oh, that's a pretty sunset, and walking away, stand there for 20 seconds and let it really soak in. The same is true if somebody gives you a compliment. Oh, you did a great job on that project. Instead of saying, oh, that was nothing, and dismissing the compliment, take it in for 20 seconds. Say, thank you. I worked really hard on that and I was happy with it. And I'm really glad that you appreciated it as well. Let it really soak in. And then the third step is to go for a 3-to-1 ratio. 3 positives to every 1 negative. So those 3 steps, practice those for the next few weeks. Notice what shifts for you. Step number 1, be on the lookout for the positives, at least 5 a day, pretending you're the Academy Awards committee. Number 2, savor each one for at least 20 seconds, letting it really go into your body. And number 3, go for a 3-to-1 ratio. Every time you have a negative, replace it with 3 positives. and just use your life as an experiment and see what changes in your life.
Right. Of course, it's easy to say, but it requires a lot of discipline, right? It requires a lot of commitment and belief that it makes your life better.
But yeah, but you know that those three things, they take 2 minutes in a day to do. 2 minutes. Where we're looking for 5 things and we're savoring them for 20 seconds each. So it's just a matter of habit. And small baby steps are what changes habits. Don't go for too much. Small baby steps. I'm going to share a couple of them with you. Can I do that?
Everybody loves it.
So my weakest area is the body. And it's not about not being physically strong. It's about actually not having the right biochemistry of happiness. I haven't had enough serotonin throughout my life. Serotonin is one of the happiness chemicals. I'm going to give you there, and there's lots of things for serotonin that are natural. There's a lot of research, and in Happy for No Reason, I've got a whole chart that can show you what kinds of things you can, herbs that you can take.
When you want to stand out, it's your individuality, it's your ego. Now, when you feel appreciated by other people, is it that serotonin is the chemical which does it? When you're in the group, or when you leave the group?
No, that's oxytocin.
Oxytocin. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, oxytocin we get when we feel bonded and connected with other people.
Right.
So, by the way, we catch the emotions of the people around us like we catch their colds. So it matters who you're around. And when you're just right now are connecting like this in a positive way helps create more oxytocin. So that's one of the chemicals. But serotonin is the happiness chemical that in fact, when people go on antidepressants, it's the attempt to get more serotonin stimulated in your body. But there's natural ways to do it. And I'm going to give you one that I learned that takes 2 minutes a day, but really works. And it's called sunning. Sunning, like as in the bright sun. So what I want you to do is twice a day for 2 minutes each. I want you to go out into the sun. And, you know, if you're not living in a sunny area, it's harder. I'll tell you what to do if you're not living in a sunny area, but I want you to go out in the sun and close your eyes. Really important. Close your eyes and look up have your head facing the sun with your eyes closed. Let the sun come in through your closed eyelids to the center of your head, your pineal gland. It stimulates the pineal gland. And let it soak in for 2 minutes. Imagine that light coming down through your whole body, stimulating all of your glands. And 2 minutes of that will help increase your serotonin. 2 minutes twice a day. That also increases your melatonin. More serotonin gives you more melatonin. Melatonin helps you sleep. Then the better your sleep is, the more you have serotonin. So it's this cycle. And I know it sounds crazy, but 2 minutes twice a day for a week will help reset your serotonin. Simple.
I promise I'm going to do that. And I'd like you to ask me a week from now.
Great.
Please do. So I will feel
great. And you know what? Get a happiness buddy. Find somebody in your family or a friend of yours to check in with and say, hey, are you doing that? Can I give you one more practice that you can do?
Yes, please.
I like these really practical things. Again, 2 minute practices, because I like 2 minute practices. We're not even going to do this for 2 minutes, but it's called the heart coherence technique. It's called the inner ease technique. And I learned it from a group called the Institute of Heart Math. They're the world's leading researchers on happiness and the heart. And what they found is that when we're just 5 minutes in anger and frustration, it will weaken our immune system for 6 hours. But 5 minutes of love and compassion can strengthen our immune system for up to 6 hours. So we're not even going to do 5 minutes. We're going to do a minute or two, okay? 3 simple steps for this inner ease technique. You can do it with your eyes open or closed, but let's just do it right now with our eyes open for a moment, okay? So the first step is to place your hand over your heart. Placing your hand over your heart increases oxytocin, what we talked about earlier. It's connection. Oxytocin comes from connection with each other, but it also comes from connecting with our hearts. So just right now, your hand on your heart is creating more oxytocin. And the second step is to simply imagine that your breath is coming in and out through your heart. It's called heart-focused breathing. So imagine that you're breathing into your heart and breathing out of your heart. Breathing into your heart at your own pace and breathing out of your heart. Inhaling into your heart and exhaling out of your heart. Now for the third step, I'm going to ask us all to just close our eyes for a moment. So now with your eyes closed, breathing into and out of your heart, I want you to imagine that you're breathing in love, ease, and compassion. Breathing that into your heart and then breathing out of your heart as you did before. Every time you breathe into your heart, breathe in love, ease, and compassion. Now you can think of somebody that helps you feel more love, a beloved person in your life, or a four-legged. You can remember a time when you felt love, ease, or compassion. Or you can just mentally say those words, love, ease, and compassion. Breathing those into your heart. And just exhaling out of your heart. One more time, breathing in love, ease, and compassion. And exhaling out of your heart. And now you can just slowly take your hand away and slowly open your eyes. And I want everyone right now to notice,
it's like,
how do you feel? So Gennady, how do you feel?
Quick meditation. Excellent. Excellent.
Do you feel different? Do you feel a little shift?
I feel shift. I feel that I could get it probably after 20 minutes lying flat. And now I felt it, 2 minutes?
2 minutes.
It's really
2 minutes.
Really feel, and that's why in a lot of folks, like, in Asia, when they greet each other, they put hand on the heart.
Yeah.
But when you add thoughts and your heart breathes, you feel really like, oh, I became sweaty. I mean,
Yeah.
I love it. Oh.
Yeah. So here's the thing about this. What you just mentioned, the shift, it's actually a shift that's physiological, that's shifting you into what's called heart rhythm coherence. And that heart rhythm coherence will affect you for a few hours. If you do 5 minutes, as I said, it could affect you for up to 6 hours. So here's what I recommend. Do this every day for the next week, twice during the day, 2 minutes each. That's all. And what it does is starts to put you in the habit of going into this coherence response. All I'm suggesting are simple little practices that will shift your habits enough to change your happiness set point. That's what it's all about.
Seems to be really it's not a rocket science, but it works.
Not rocket science.
It works. It works.
It's just a matter of doing it. Baby steps consistently taken is what makes the shift. And I know right now people are thinking, this is too easy. That can't really be it. It actually does work. So what I say is, don't do everything. We've talked about 3 techniques today. Pick one of those. Do it for a week. Then pick another one next week. Do that for a week. Then pick another one the next week. Do that for a week. So pick whichever one you feel is going to be best for you right now. The sunning meditation, the inner ease heart rhythm technique, or the creating new neural pathways in the brain through those, being the Academy Awards committee, savoring the good, and going for the 3-to-1 ratio for your thoughts. So just pick one of those right now and commit to doing that for the next week and see what happens.
I will start straight away. After the interview, I'll go out and I will try.
Good deal.
With winnings. So it's really great. And so what you mentioned, I know that you've done some research on 100 unconditionally happy people. And I believe that they have something in common, right? So all happy people have got something in common.
They do. Well, they have many of these habits. As I said, there's 21 happiness habits, and they have those habits in common. I'm going to say one thing that they most have in common, which surprised me, to be honest. They all had a belief that we live in a benevolent universe.
Mhm.
Einstein said that the most important question we can ask ourselves is this a friendly universe? Now, that doesn't mean that everything's always going your way, but it means that you believe that the universe is on your side, that it's supporting you in some way. And so what I found is that happy people, even though many of them have had hard, very difficult lives, they all have this belief that this is a friendly universe and that the universe is in their favor. So that means when you're going through a challenging time, instead of going, oh, this is awful, why is this happening to me? I can't believe it. That's a victim behavior. They go, okay, what's the lesson or the gift in this for me? What, if this is a friendly universe, why is this happening in my favor? What can I take from this? So that's an interesting question that we all can be asking ourselves, especially during challenging
What
times.
does it teach me? What does it teach me
Yeah,
to make me better?
exactly.
It's like having an angel in a lot of religions. It's like having
Right.
the guarded angel and you don't
That's right.
yourself facing the world. You already like you and angel, and now you have you and universe. It's even better.
Yeah.
But everything comes from subconscious. It's really it's internal thing. Once I remember you saying that once you have internal peace, then other things will fall into places.
You know, that is the interesting thing. We think that success is going to bring us happiness. It doesn't. It's backwards. This inner state of happiness is what will create the success around us. It's been shown that happier people are more successful in work. An example, happier people on average make more than $1 million over the course of their lifetime. Happier people, happier salespeople are 35% more productive. Happiness in general serves our lives in so many ways. It serves our work life. It serves our health. Happier people are healthier. They live on average 9 years longer. So happiness is a great benefit in every way.
Right. Whew. Marci, it's a pleasure of talking to you, and I know that you gave me certain time because you have other things to do. But thank you very much. I mean, I appreciate your practicalness in what you suggested, and it's great.
Well, thank you, Gennady. And I want to end with it's been great to be with you, and I always love to end with this one quote. It's a Chinese proverb. Because people say, is it selfish to be happy? And actually, it's the least selfish thing you can do, because when you're happier, you're affecting everybody around you, and ultimately you're affecting the world. And the Chinese proverb goes like this. It says, when there is light in the soul, there will be beauty in the person. When there is beauty in the person, there will be harmony in the house. When there is harmony in the house, there will be order in the nation. And when there is order in the nation, there will be peace in the world. And my prayer and my wish for every one of us is that we each feel that happiness, that light in our own souls. And through that, we help create more peace here on this planet of ours.
Well, thank you so much. Such a wise, such a lot of wisdom, really. We should be living like that. That should be our guidelines in life. Oh, thank you very much. Really, I don't
Thank you so much. It's always great to be with you.
end button because it feels like, oh, I don't want to break the connection. But we should, I promise we should connect. I'd like to be connected more often. And in a week time, I will report to you.
Awesome. Okay, that sounds great.
My viewers will report to me. So we'll see.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.